Typically in this classical guitar technique for Metalheads series, I talk about something, kind of physical. Like, well, this is a good lick to practice this, or this technique, or if you play it this way, you can do this finger style thing with it, whatever. For this segment, I'm going to talk about something more, just, I guess, geared towards an approach. This is something that my teacher taught me that I think is very important. I find it highly valuable. So now I'm going to pass it on to you. And I'm going to use this passage from SlipKnot's Danger Keep Away to demonstrate that. Because I was working on this passage. Currently I'm working on a big SlipKnot medley that I'm very excited about. I don't know if it will be out, by the time that this video is out. But I'm working on polishing it up and getting the sheet music ready and all that kind of stuff. Very excited to play it and get it out there. I love SlipKnot. They're one of my favorite bands ever. So I listen to them a lot. I've really enjoyed playing their music on classical. And I was working on this part the other day, and I was doing a little bit of experimenting with sound, and then it just hit me. And I thought, oh my God, this is like this big thing that my teacher used to tell me, and here it is. Okay. So he was very big on experimenting with sound. He would always encourage people to experiment and to find new sounds. And he did this up until like 2 months before he passed away. He passed away at 79 years old. So playing the guitar around 70 years, never ran out of ways to find new sounds and experiment with sound. So that tells me there's at least a lifetime's worth of stuff to find in the nylon string guitar. So it's something that he always would talk about, would do, would encourage people to do, and he really instilled that in me. And it became a really important part of my approach to the guitar, a really important part of work I do with anything with the guitar. So he would say, if you experiment and you find a new sound, probably one of two things will happen. Either you'll say, I know of an exact place to use this right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and put it in there, and I'm going to use this sound there. Or you won't have a use for it at the moment. If that's the case, just don't forget it. Remember that it's in your bag, and you will find a use for it at some point. You'll find something that's like perfect for that. Don't try and cram it where it doesn't fit. Just be patient, basically. So maybe I hadn't experienced the latter one too much, because when this hit me, it felt like a big epiphany. I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what he was talking about. Okay, now I'm talking about this sound in particular, where you're playing basically over the fingerboard. Okay, so you have your right hand and you can change your sound production, right? If you have like a normal sound. Now as you move towards the sound hole, it starts to get warmer and kind of ooshier. And if you keep going, it starts to change kind of in a different way. And it starts to take on this type of quality, whatever you want to call it, right? Okay. So in my playing, my typical playing spot is somewhere like here. Okay. I'll use this sound quite a lot. It's good for a lot of stuff. Okay. You doing something, you want to color it, make it warmer. Yeah, it's a great idea. I don't use this sound a lot because I feel like it's lacking a little bit. Like if you move over the sound hole and the sound gets warmer and fuller, yeah, I'm all about that. But once you get over the fingerboard, in my opinion, it starts to thin out a little bit. It starts to lose some of the fullness that you gained by going over the sound hole. quality starts to change. To me, it sounds a little bit weird. I might use it for a special effect. Right? But most of the time, I'm going to do that stuff there. It's just, this is going to be more appealing to me because it sounds a little more full than this. At least from where I'm sitting on the instrument. That's how it sounds. That's how it feels. Okay. So I don't use this sound a lot. Another thing is there's the node to consider. I don't know exactly what a node is. I just know that they exist. But it has something to do with the fact that, your string has a length. The length of the string is from your hardware, right? And the nodes happen when you divide it. So if you divide it in half, there's a node there. That's why you can make a harmonic. And it's that node, right? And that's why you can make other harmonics. Because they exist on some kind of node. Now, if you pluck on the node, you get a weird sound. If you don't pluck on it, you get a much more full sound that I think has, in general, a little bit more character. Okay, so if I'm doing stuff over here, I'm actually going to be careful to avoid the node because I think it makes it kind of. If I'm doing harmonics, then you obviously pluck them there. But if I'm doing natural notes, I wouldn't pluck right on the node. Because it's going to be a thinner sound. I would shoot for that over this. This. Okay. So I know that sound exists. I just haven't really found a use for it. Okay. Now, fast forward to me working on this SlipKnot arrangement, and I'm working on this part, Danger Keep Away, and I'm trying to find the right sound for it, but I'm kind of having trouble. It doesn't really sound right here to me. If I warm it up, it's like it sounds better. So I was just doing it with a very warm sound. And it just wasn't satisfied. And it happens at the end of the medley, and I wanted it to sound different. I wanted it to be like new sound. Because then, I go into the... I'm going to be using normalish sounds. And on the original track, of course, it's on a synthesizer. It's got that vibe. So I couldn't really find something that just did it for me. And then I was playing this actually for a while, and then I just happened to experiment and move way over. And all of a sudden, I got the vibes. And I was like, oh, that's it. That puts me in the mood. It's not that it sounds exactly like the original track, but out of everything I've tried, that definitely puts me in the mood more. And when I got to that weird area, and I realized I try and actually be right on the node. So that's going to be 12 frets above whatever you're fretting. 12th fret for an open string, 14th fret for the 2nd fret, etc. Just add 12 frets. If that's the area that typically I would avoid, but if I hit that area, it gives it this weird sound. It thins it out a little bit, and it sounds a little bit eerie. And I was like, that's perfect. That's exactly something that puts me in the mood. It's a new sound, because I'm going to play this whole medley without using this sound. And it comes right from Vermilion Part 2. So that's going to be kind of a normal sound. And then here we go. Now we know immediately we're in new territory. Uncharted territory, basically. So when I found that, and then I was playing it for a little while, and then it just hit me, and I was like, this is exactly what he was talking about. Because I've hardly used this sound at all. Like I explained earlier, I'm really not a fan of it for all those reasons. Like, I think it's okay, but I just will use other sounds instead of that. I usually don't go that far. But it's one of my favorite things about making arrangements is it does create opportunities for you to use different sounds based on where the original music comes from. Okay? Arranging SlipKnot is real different than arranging like a string quartet. Okay? And I love that because you have to think differently. If you do the string quartet arrangement, then you're going to need to think that way. But with SlipKnot, you got to think that way. What are the... I don't want it to sound exactly the same, but what are the characters that I think are really important? And at the least, they just inspire me, right? I know it's going to be on a different instrument and all that, but I want the mood to come from that. It's going to come out how it comes out, and it's going to be on a different instrument. But that's really important to me. It's going to help you make your decisions, right? And I would not have found that sound otherwise. So it's one of my favorite things about making arrangements. It actually encourages me to find new sounds and to find solutions. But, I've known about that sound for years, like a lot of years. And I've hardly ever used it because I just thought it's too thin. It doesn't work as well. And then all of a sudden, just the right scenario comes up, just like he said. It's almost like he knew what he was talking about. All of a sudden, there's just this golden opportunity, and as soon as I felt it, it just clicked into place, and I thought, yes. Okay, before, I was always kind of like, oh, okay, this will work. And then I get to that sound, and I was like, this without a doubt is the best choice for me to make. So, this isn't really about a particular thing. You can apply this to many, many different things. But I think it's super important. I also think it's super enjoyable and rewarding. And, I think you can be an individual this way. I mean, you could play, I don't know. And people like to compare themselves to other people. So how are you going to do that? Like, what can you do better than someone else? Like, can you play faster than them? Can you play better than them? Do you make fewer mistakes? I mean, I don't know. Who cares? I'm just more like, who are you? Like, who are you? And that's going to go in with who you are and then in with your instrument. What can you do here? What can you get out of it, right? If you play a whole 60-minute concert or hour-and-a-half concert and you make one interesting sound, I think that's kind of a wasted opportunity, if you ask me. You could have made dozens and dozens of interesting sounds. So the fact that one was made, I just think that's kind of unfortunate, right? But I think it's something that's really important that we can use to show who we are, and then to find just the right sound for the right moment. I think it also honors the music and what you're playing, regardless of what you're playing. And I'm going to treat, if I play SlipKnot, I treat that the same as if I play Johann Sebastian Bach or Rigondi or Villalobos or anything else. If it's music that I love, I got to do it right. So I got to explore all the options so that I can get the best possible solution for whatever I'm playing.